Air. No. And it's on. It on. 1, 2. All right.
Thank you. So, good morning and welcome to the Beachcombers Hotel. And for those who are joining us, we are broadcasting live from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the wonderful St. Vincent and the Grenadines, home to our president, Dr. Kishore Shallow. President Shallow, Vice President Azim Basaraf, members of the Board of Directors of Cricket West Indies, President of Cage, Mr. Bob Washington, and members of his team, members of staff of Cricket West Indies, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you. You don't sound lively. Good morning. It's Christmas time. We're home for Christmas. And indeed, it's a pleasure. This is our quarterly press conference. We've held, this is something that we've introduced last year, I believe, and we've held them to create a more opportunity for us to have more free conversation with you. There's lots of information to share, but that's not my job today. I'm Jamal Slocum. I am the communications consultant with Cricket West Indies, and it is my pleasure to take you through the paces this morning. Just as a matter of housekeeping for those members of the media joining us online, throughout the press conference, we would have presentations first, but then we are going to invite you to to ask your questions. And by doing so, you'll be asked to raise your hand in the Zoom room. We just have this process in place to ensure that we don't have any feedback in our system. So this will ensure that we have a smooth press conference. We are going to first start with an agreement being signed between our president, Dr. Kishore Shallow, and the president of Caribbean Cage, Mr. Bob Washington. So, gentlemen, you can join us across here, and you'll learn a little bit more about that very shortly. Good. Thank you, gentlemen. I am now going to move to remarks by President Dr. Kishore Shallow. Some of you may be questioning, well, what is that they just signed? So I'll allow not only the President to give you more information about that, but he will certainly share information now that we're coming to the end of the year and his remarks for 2024. President Shallow.
Thank you, Jamal. Good morning, everyone. Pleasant good morning. I'm sure you all were hoping that we could have been celebrating this morning, a bit more celebratory mood coming from last night, but don't worry, Darren said that he's going to fix that tomorrow night for you. Right, Darren? Right, sir. Okay. Vice President Azim Bazarat, happy to have you here in St. Vincent as usual, and my other esteemed directors from Cricket West Indies. For those in the media, this handsome and beautiful group right here. These are our CWI directors. We sat in this room yesterday from 10 o'clock to almost 4, having what I would say is a historic board meeting. Very first time we have hosted a board meeting here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The KH team, Todd in the back supporting Bob, Harley, and Noel. Happy to have you here as well. Other management at CWI, other distinguished guests, and the media. Really, really happy to be here with you this morning. Permit me to recognize a special female here, and not you this time, Deborah, but I'm speaking about Samantha Lynch. You know, our esteemed female coach and one of the most qualified female coaches in the entire world. Sam, happy to have you here with us this morning. And just a special welcome to all of you who have made the efforts to join us this morning. It is really a historic day in West Indies cricket. For the last 20 plus years, there have been efforts to establish a regional lottery that could fund West Indies cricket. And we are quite happy, ecstatic, to actually realize that idea that started some 20 plus years ago, and establishing a 20-year partnership to realize what we anticipate to be a very successful venture through a regional lottery, and you'll hear more about that from Bob in a while. But from a Cricket West Indies perspective, and this stands to benefit us tremendously, where we could make contributions throughout the entire Caribbean, particularly for cricket development. And I know the media are quite keen to find out what are we talking about, you know, in terms of numbers. A few minutes from now, and of course we'll take questions later from those present in the room and online shortly. But just to reflect on 2024, it has been a very successful year for Cricket West Indies, both on and off the field. I will deal more off the field for now, and Miles, our Director of Cricket, and Darren later on will talk about the on the field, and I'm sure you'll hear from our acting CEO pretty soon as well, Linford. But I would say the highlight of the game by any estimation would be hosting the biggest World Cup ever. June was a fantastic year. The level of work that went into executing that tournament is absolutely unbelievable. And to have executed that so seamlessly without any real event off the field in terms of distraction. The only thing that didn't go our way, to be honest, was the fact that we didn't win the World Cup, right? But that is only because, you know, we are building towards it, and next World Cup we're going to do that. But it was an excellent and very successful World Cup. And I think the entire Caribbean and West Indians all over the globe should be very proud of that execution. Also, we have seen some improvement on the field. Of course, our T20 team has been climbing the rankings over the last year. I think we started maybe when Darren became coach. We were probably ranked at number 8 or number 9 thereabout. And we have been for the last few months between number 3 and number 4. So that is obviously testament to the hard work that Coach Darren, Skipper Raffman, and the entire team and backroom staff have put in over the years. And I'm sure that we're going to finish 2024 on a high with a successful series against Bangladesh. Our women, we can't forget them. They have also been performing really well, particularly in T20. We got to the semi-final of the World Cup this year. I mean, some of us probably forgot that, but that too is a tremendous accomplishment. And much credit to Shane Deeds, Haley Matthews, our captain, and the entire team there. And again, off the field, I think we could safely say that in the history of West Indies cricket, the organization has never been so stable financially. All right, and that obviously is a result of prudent financial management, great work by not only Johnny Grave, our immediate past CEO, but also Linford and the management team at CWI. And I commend them greatly for all their continued hard work and efforts. We have also made strides in governance. Not too long ago, we were able to get the approval of a few resolutions. Those have already been in effect. A couple of weeks ago, I think maybe earlier this month, we again attempted to have a few more resolutions passed. A little stumbling, I would say, but by and large, the board remains quite committed. I would say by a significant majority of the board, there's a shared commitment to governance reform at Cricket West Indies. And I am certain that by March next year, we are going to see more changes to our governance structure. I will end shortly, but before I do so, I want to make a significant announcement this morning. I want to recognize my good friend from Barbados, Andrew Mason, who is come on for breaking news. So, Andrew, I'm going to give you this one today because I know you have been asking questions for some time now. One of our pillars that we spoke about from the inception of VP Azim Bazarat and myself taking over the leadership of Cricket West Indies is to strengthen the human capital. And with that, we have always made efforts to have a robust recruitment process, attracting the best personnel. And, Rupert Hunt, our Chief Commercial Officer, is testament of that. He went through a very robust and comprehensive process for that role. And we have done similar for the recruitment of our Chief Executive Officer, who will commence at Cricket West Indies from February 1st. And the gentleman who we have selected for that role is a Jamaican, Andrew. Jamaican. None other than Christopher Derring. So Chris Derring, he has, a wealth of experience within the region. He has worked, established businessman, founder of Sportsmax, worked for many years in telecommunication, and worked at CWI as well, and championed quite a few of the initiatives that we now enjoy in our commercial department. And Chris is very excited about the prospects of working with Cricket West Indies and turning around this organization, or should I say, helping us to realize even more success, both on and off the field. So publicly, I want to congratulate Chris Derring and being selected as the Chief Executive Officer, again, commencing from February 4th on a 3-year tenure. And before I close, I just want to commend all the staff at Cricket West Indies for the continued hard work. We have a tremendous team from all across the world really, but mostly from the region, as you would appreciate. And they work tirelessly, day and night, weekends, just non-stop. And so I want to take this opportunity to commend Linford, his staff, the secretary, and throughout the organization, and of course to Darren, Andre, Shane, and all the coaches in our system, the assistant coaches, the support personnel. It has been a fantastic year again, and of course my entire board, all the directors. Some have left already this morning, which is the reason why they're not here, but for those who are here, I really, really appreciate your continued support. And I'm going to pause for now because Miles also has some exciting news to bring to you soon. So I'll take your questions later on, but thanks for now.
Thank you, President. And certainly it's a pleasure to be in your home country, President. Certainly it is the first time I was here during the World Cup period, and last night it was wonderful to see so many people in the stadium there. Before we go to Mr. Miles Bascom, our Director of Cricket, I am going to turn to our acting Chief Executive Officer, who also would have been recently appointed as Chief Operating Officer. And I believe this is his first press conference in this capacity, and it will be his last as acting Chief Executive Officer, but certainly he will be continuing with us in his capacity as Chief Operating Officer. Mr. Linford in Ferrari.
So it was very, very exciting for me to land here, especially with a phenomenal night of cricket last evening. Things didn't go our way, but like the President said, we're pretty sure that we'll get a very good Christmas gift in terms of a series win from the guys. So there were a couple of things I wanted to raise with the public. Jamal, earlier he would have mentioned that I would have put a strategic plan together, but I would like to just correct that a bit and say that we put a strategic plan together. That was absolutely a team effort. There was a lot of engagement from all stakeholders. I engaged with players, engaged with the head coach, except for Mr. Washington, everybody else on this table, and a lot of people in the room with us. And I want to really give kudos and commendations to everyone that was involved in that process, especially the management and staff, and of course our esteemed board of directors. So strategic planning is one thing I think people get excited about, but sometimes they don't follow up with, preaching, spreading the word of the strategic plan. So I as part of my function as acting CEO now and Chief Operating Officer, my more substantive duty, every time I get in front of a microphone, every time I get an opportunity, I'll remind each and every one of you of our strategic plan. I don't want that work at all to go to waste. So what I wanted to mention as well, you would have heard from the President in terms of the achievements for 2024. Our purpose at Cricket West Indies is to inspire, empower, and unite the people of the West Indies through cricket. And I think when you reflect on this year, we have done exactly that. So we have fulfilled our purpose. In terms of our strategic plan, there are 6 fundamental pillars to that. Elite and high performance. There's a lot of work that is being done in terms of the senior team and bolstering our high performance system. Later this year, the strategic plan, well, the year is the year is almost over, but it will be launched this year. That is one of our promises to the public, to be more accountable and to be more transparent with everything that we're doing at Cricket West Indies. So that will be made public very soon. In terms of cricket development and participation, that continues to be a very important fundamental pillar for us. Where is the next generation coming from? Who are the next young cricketers, the next Haley Matthews and Shea Hopes, and the next Robman Powells? Where are they coming from? So we need to ensure that we invest in the system, in development and participation, with the help of the territorial boards and the governments to ensure that we realize that. Facilities and infrastructure, say no more on that. I think that it is an acknowledged fact that in the West Indies, there's definitely a gap in terms of our facilities and the rest of the world that we're competing with. So at Cricket West Indies, we recognize that, and that is why this is a fundamental pillar to our strategic plan. Not leaving the fans out of it, commercial and financial sustainability, fan engagement, and global visibility. So under that particular section of the strategic plan, it's all about raising money and getting fans to come out engaged and excited for West Indies cricket. And last but not least is the issue of governance. Governance is a dear issue to me. Having worked alongside the Webby report group, putting those recommendations together. I want to take this opportunity to say, though, that at Cricket West Indies, governance, even though the progress maybe has not been as quick as some would have hoped. There was COVID, let's not forget, and there was a lot going on in 2020 when that report was published. But a lot of times, some of the progress that we have made gets lost in that. So I wanted to also highlight the fact that we have a record amount of female directors on our board. 2 of them are here before us today. So governance is not just about reducing the size of the board. It's not just about that type of thing. It's about financial governance as well. It's about inclusivity. It's about diversity. It's about systems, policies, and processes. You know, we hired an audit risk and compliance manager. We have lessened our committees. We have a lot more focused and smaller committees, etc. And the list goes on and on in terms of the things that we've been able to achieve from a governance perspective. So I just did not want this opportunity to come and not make that point that Cricket West Indies is on a journey of governance reform. Some things are going to happen. They may not happen as quickly as we would have expected, but they're definitely happening, and it's something that is very big on our agenda. In terms of the other achievements too, the president would have mentioned some of them. I also wanted to acknowledge our chief commercial officer, and there was a groundbreaking deal with ESPN that was done, a 6-year deal, which is the biggest in our history. But at this point now, I think I'll shut up because they did give me a time limit, and I see Jamal coming to the podium. But definitely we'll look forward to sharing more information about our strategic plan and any other information in the question and answer section. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, CEO. Certainly always a pleasure to hear about the progress we've been making. Certainly we don't get too often to, it's not everything that you'll be able to see in a press release, but I think that you've given quite a comprehensive oversight of some of the steps that we've been making. DOC, Mr. Miles Bascom. Seated to his right is Mr. Darren Sammy. Mr. Miles Bascom, over to you, Director of Cricket.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamal. And good morning, all. A special good morning to my CWI directors, the people whose blessings I need to go forward with changes to West Indies cricket, and who have been so kind so far to me. And I will take that as an indication that we are aligned. The President spoke to a number of us having a good year, on and off the field. He highlighted the World Cup as probably the #1 achievement for the year. For me, on the field for us, the Women's World Cup, that campaign getting us to the semi-final and so close to getting to the final, that is actually my personal highlight on the field, as I had the pleasure of being with the team before the campaign started, and I saw what the environment there was like, and I knew that something good was going to come of that group. The white ball teams have been quite good. The President spoke to the movement of the T20 team up the rankings. The head coach would say that probably his proudest achievement is that we have been able to make home our fortress, which I do agree with. And definitely our ODI team has been trending in the right direction, and I think Amir Django's century on debut was definitely the cherry on the cake. But I'm here today to speak to you about two areas where our board yesterday has again given me a nod of approval. The first of which is an addition of another domestic tournament that we've spoken about, and now I can confirm that the CWI Board of Directors have agreed to move forward with a domestic T20 league aimed at emerging T20 players, and we will be doing that with the support of the CPL, and we are targeting April to May 2025. There will definitely be more information about that, but following the approval of the board, preparations for that tournament will definitely step into high gear, and I'm quite excited about that. The second area where I got the nod of approval from the board was for the extension of the contract the renewal, of the contract of our white ball head coach. And further to that renewal, post our World Test Championship, our current World Test Championship campaign, we are going to be expanding Mr. Sammy's role to encompass all formats. So when we host Australia next summer, Darren Sammy will be the head coach of all senior men's teams. I want to take this opportunity to thank Andre Coley, who has served well. He still has to complete his World Test Championship campaign in Pakistan, and he will have our full support. But again, I want to congratulate Mr. Sammy. We have been quite impressed with the way that he has charted a course for our white ball teams, and he has guided them towards consistency of performance, and that is exactly what we want to see in our test team. So congratulations again, Coach Sammy. And that is all from me. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Coach Sammy. And certainly it's a day filled with announcements here at CWI. And I am now going to invite the chairman and CEO of Caribbean Cage, Mr. Bob Washington, after signing that historic deal with our president, Dr. Kishore Shallow, to now make his remarks. Mr. Washington.
Thank you very much, Jamal. Good morning. Greetings to the board of CWI, your president, Kishore, your acting CEO, Lenford, your commercial director, Rupert, your in-house counsel, Alana, and the entire Cricket West Indies team. It's been, as Kishore averted earlier, it's been a long process. These discussions started probably 20 years ago after we started providing support to Barbados Cricket Association many, many decades ago. What has been extremely gratifying to the Cage side of the team has been the work experience, the love, the dedication that your staff and the professional team here exhibited during these negotiations. They were always pleasant, but they were tough. There were some fundamental differences, as one would expect in an arrangement that expands over an extended period of time. So on behalf of the Cage family, I am gratified to have executed this long-term contract I think on a conservative basis, it generates an estimated 100 million US dollars over the first 10-year period for Cricket West Indies and another $156 million for the governments that participate in the program. What we are talking about is the use of gaming, lottery revenue, gaming revenue to support cricket and cricket development, which is what happens around the world. In the United States, as you know, we have for education, we have the South Carolina Educational Lottery or the Georgia Educational Lottery. And these are examples of where governments have taken gaming revenue and committed it to important objectives of the government. And so we started most recently this journey in Port of Spain at the symposium hosted by the Honorable Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the chairman of the CARICOM Prime Ministerial Subcommittee on Cricket. And at that symposium in April, we submitted a presentation. It was warmly received by members of the audience and members of government, many of whom came up to me after and thought there was a level of wisdom in finding a source of predictable recurring revenue for cricket and cricket development. Following that, most recently we met in Guyana, and we made a further presentation to the Prime Ministerial Subcommittee on Cricket, and at which not only were the three members there, but several other prime ministers who have a deep concern for cricket were also present. And the subcommittee, Prime Ministerial Subcommittee, unanimously supported this project and supported a road forward for cricket and cricket development. And so what we hope to do, and let me just for a moment give you some historical background. I first started in the lottery business in the Caribbean in 1994. I started the Antigua Lottery in 1994, which ultimately cascaded into to LILCO, which was a combination of countries in the Caribbean playing Caribbean Lotto. I founded that. We started that in 1998, and we sold that company to then GTEC, which is IGT today, which has Caribbean Lotto, and we started Cage in 2004 with gaming machines, lottery terminals throughout the Caribbean community. But what we're talking about for Cricket West Indies is this whole new area of gaming, which is our future. With all due respect, I mean, gaming terminals are going to become, at some point, relics. And what we are witnessing around the world is the use of these handheld devices. And I'm proud to tell you that we will be launching and have been approved for an iOS app, for those of you who have Apple phones, and also for Google Android apps. You will be able to top up your accounts. You'll be able to play from your handheld accounts. As you know, we are the only gaming company in the Caribbean that has a multi-currency progressive mystery jackpot, where we have jackpots that are over $600,000. And what we expect to bring to the table for Cricket West Indies are sports betting in partnership with the #1 content provider in the world, Sports Radar, the billion-dollar Swiss company, virtual sports with the preeminent virtual sports company in the world, Excel Entertainment, and lastly, for iGaming with GreenTube, which is a part of the $9 billion Novomatic company. And so we have a very important strategic team to execute this and to generate what we estimate to be on the low end, approximately $100 million US dollars for cricket over the next 10 years, provided we have, which we expect, the enthusiastic cooperation of West Indies cricket, and we've had that. Kishore, I applaud you and your team. You've exhibited the kind of professionalism and commitment to rigor. Tough, I might add, but commitment. This is no walk in the park. It has been a set of very, very important negotiations. So against this background, we signed the contract today. We expect, on the faith that we've had in your president, that Cage made a number of very significant investments months ago, assuming we would get here today. There is no way humanly possible we could launch in April had we not made investments early last year. It's impossible. And some people say you'll never start up. Well, we believed in Cricket West Indies. As I've said, we started in the late 90s with Barbados Cricket Association. And so we believed in what you're doing and where you wanted to take this organization. But bereft of recurring revenue, it's not achievable. You can have the best design, and I'm a lawyer, so I understand and respect corporate governance, but unless you have a sustainable source of recurring revenue, how do you compete with India, in Australia, in England? You need revenue, and it has to be recurring. It has to be paid monthly. And this is something that we're going to work together to achieve. And some people ask me, and I will end in this statement, well, how did you come to the numbers? Very briefly, we use the U.S. model. There are 4 categories: Category 1, Category 2, Category 3, Category 4. We use Category 4 in the Caribbean. I don't believe Category 4 is in the Caribbean. That's the lowest level. That's measuring the Caribbean against Vermont, Wyoming, places that don't gamble, don't have lotteries, do not have a history. And we use that model at $31 US a day per adult population in the Caribbean to come to these numbers. So people were asking, how'd you get these numbers? They're very conservative. Remember, not analogizing, last Super Bowl, one day, $23 billion was wagered in the U.S. one day in Super Bowl. And where what we're talking about, again, we're not talking about the old technology of the game machines. We're talking about the new technology for Cricket West End. This is what we've been debating. This is what your management team wanted to know. They did not want to be associated with old technology. They wanted to be a part of the new technology. And I also, I'd be amiss if I did not express the fervor and the enthusiasm exhibited by the chairman of the Prime Ministerial Subcommittee on Cricket, Prime Minister Raleigh. I mean, he has been a bear on this issue, and I applaud him. And the Prime Minister of Barbados, Prime Minister Motley, who's a member of the subcommittee, Prime Minister from Guyana, President Ali, and the other prime ministers who came to the meeting, who sat there the entire time, from Antigua, from Pierre, from St. Lucia, from Grenada. A number of these prime ministers sat in a 5-hour meeting in support of cricket and cricket development, and how do we generate, and how can we come together and generate recurring revenue without either the governments, who have to issue the licenses, or Cricket West Indies having to put up $1 of capital. All of the capital, CapEx, hardware, OpEx, the operating expenses, all borne by Cage. There is no downside. There is no, obviously they are at risk because they're walking away from opportunities. Closing. As you all know, the Caribbean has more unlicensed gaming than any region in the world. All of the games that we're talking about today exist in the Caribbean today. They simply, people don't pay. They simply, that's generated, will come over for us to assist Cricket West Indies in restoring cricket to its leadership role in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Washington. Well, this is the part we all love. That's when the media, you are valued partners, get your opportunity to ask your questions. Well, we are going to ask that you just raise your hand in the Zoom room, but we will also provide priority questioning from those media here represented in the room. So there's a mic from our media officer. Jerome is here, Jerome Foster, and he is going to help us with the microphone for any person who would just like to ask any questions, just identify. And I know certainly we have Mr. Andrew Mason with us. So certainly we are going to have some exciting questions here this morning.
Miles concerning the appointment of Darren as head coach of the test team.
Akeem, can you just state which media house you're from? Just say your full name and your media house.
My apologies, Akeem Green News, my apologies. Mr. Boston, just for clarity, Darren Sammy's appointment as the former head coach, was there vacancy or anything of the sort for the test team, or this was just a unanimous decision to appoint Darren as our former head coach, given the success that he has garnered with the white ball team?
Thank you, Akeem, for the question. The contract of the current red ball coach will end ahead of the next series in the upcoming World Test Championship cycle. Darren's current contract, will end at the end of this month. So we, in the process of negotiating Darren's renewal, we definitely saw the opportunity, as I said, given the success that he has had with the white ball team, specifically in the way that he has gone about gaining that success, to try to extend that to the test team in the upcoming World Test Championship cycle.
And this is my final one for Darren. Darren, I know you're a man who always has a lot of plans. If you could share some of your initial thoughts of how do you do the turnaround as well with the test team?
Good morning to all. First of all, I must say it's always an honor to represent West Indies in any format or any position. For me, this news is not something I was expecting. Coaching was never something I saw myself doing, but I must admit the way that it's been going, I've developed a much stronger passion and a love for the job. And if called upon to help out West Indies in any way, I believe in processes, something that we've been able to do in the white ball format. And with this new role, I've already mapped out some of the areas and some of the processes that we'll have to follow in order for us to be successful. You know, I'm a patient man, and once I trust that process and understand the requirement from the director of cricket, then the plan gets into action. So I'm really excited about the added responsibility and the new journey, but one that I think myself and my team will be prepared for.
Okay, we have a question in the room. Searchlight. Can you just state your name and then the media house again? Thank you.
Good morning to all. Name is Robertson Henry. Two questions dealing with governance. One, and probably the president or the CEO, acting chief executive can answer that. One, how will Cricket West Indies ensure true changes take place regarding governance when there are affiliates that do not hold elections as mandated by their very own constitution?
Robertson, thanks for your question. Maybe you should provide us with some information, because we don't have that information, that there are some members who who don't have election. But listen, there's a shared commitment, as I said earlier, from the Cricket West Indies board to continue to champion governance reform. And part of that is to also sensitize all our stakeholders, our territorial boards included, to strengthen their own governance structure. And I think that, by and large, there's that level of appreciation. The fact that, and I could safely say that all the territorial boards who attended the meeting on the 6th of December, they are in full support of governance reform, right? The independent directors as well, they are also in support of governance reform. We have had several meetings, consultations with different stakeholders as well. The Prime Ministerial Subcommittee on Cricket, we have engaged them on governance reform. So the Prime Ministers too are champions of such change, and we will continue to make efforts in that regard. As the acting CEO said, it is a journey. It is a journey, and we are committed to, realizing, most, if not all, of the recommendations from the Webby report. All right, and before you ask your next question, just afford me the opportunity to acknowledge the presence of our newly appointed CEO, Christopher Darren, who is online. So Chris, we're saying good morning to you, wherever you are, and thanks for joining us. Next question, Jamal?
No, second question from you.
Mr. President, such governance reform, will that also include working with the various islands like St. Lucia, Antigua, Barbados, and their own affiliates, so their constitutions at that level will also be strengthened, further ensuring that there's true governance reform across the board?
We will continue to champion governance reform, and for all stakeholders, whether it is the territorial boards or the national associations, we will continue to advocate. And whatever reform we make at Cricket West Indies, we are going to share it with all our stakeholders, and shareholders included, of course, right? And we hope that they would adopt accordingly.
Alrighty, thank you so very much. We will take a question from, is that Ian Wason?
Yes, good morning.
Yes, go ahead.
Good morning. I want to say congratulations to Darren Sammy. Well, this question is not for you yet. There will be no first-class matches between now and the Pakistan tour. We just have some of the regional teams. They are in their trials. Now, given what had happened in the second test against Bangladesh, what is being done to improve, especially the batting ahead of the Pakistan tour? This one would be for Miles Bascom, not Darren Sammy. He's not there yet.
Thank you, Ian. So as I mentioned, Andrew Coley is still very much in charge of the red ball team. Following the Bangladesh series, he would have dispatched his players all with a plan and a program to ensure that they would be as best prepared as possible for what we would expect in Pakistan. And I'm quite confident that they will get some good work done. We do have a bit of lead time ahead of the first test in Pakistan as well, where we can fine-tune our skills.
Well, I had this question originally for Darren Sammy, but I have to tweak the question since he is getting into that role. But as it pertains to the multi-format players, when it comes to load management and injuries, clashing of the formats and things like that, do you and Andrew Cooley keep regular communication together?
Yes, thank you. Yes, we do. I think one of the things when taking over the job, the word communication was an area of focus for us. It's something that we've implemented across formats, and everything we do, I personally with my staff, all physical activity, which includes training, gym sessions, the actual playing, I go about it with the medical team, which would include the physio, the trainer, the massage therapist, to understand where my players are at, how well they recover, the load in which they are putting in, so that we always have them at the best, in the best possible shape when they get ready to play. So it's a conversation that has been constant with myself and Coach Andre Coley over the last 18 months about how we manage our players. For example, you've seen Alzari being managed. Sometimes he doesn't play T20s because of the workload. You didn't see him in the South Africa Test Series because of the workload that he's putting on. It's something we do. It's different to each player because the roles are different. But yeah, now I think with the position that I'm in now, to monitor the players will become much easier because we have one staff right now, and the cross-format players, it will be easier to determine how and when we give them rest or manage them.
And
Following any tour, there is usually a handover that is sent to the territories, as the players don't only move across the senior teams, they also move back and forth from their franchises. So that is a process that we will continue to streamline, but we actually, it's an area that I think that we have improved immensely.
Thank you. And one of the previous meetings that we would have had, when we would have announced the new policies and the new system for the coaches to be picking the teams, one thing is that the coaches were not working in isolation, but there were other managers and other support who would support the coaches. Have those people, those positions been filled?
Yes, as I mentioned, the what we call them territorial talent IDs, and they are effectively the lead selectors in each of the territories. So there are 6 territorial talent IDs, and in addition to that, we have a senior talent manager. The recruitment process for that role is just about being completed, so that announcement will come. Just to give a full picture of what that support team looks like to the head coach.
thank you so very much, Ian. We are going to now move to, I believe Philip Spooner wanted to ask some questions. Philip Spooner.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to attend today's meeting via Zoom. I just want to make a few statements before I ask a very simple question. I want to thank the President and for congratulating persons like myself who would have worked on the World Cup. It was indeed a wonderful year for West Indies cricket in that regard, and as someone who contributed significantly in the leadership role, I am happy that he acknowledged the work of the other members of the team as well as himself. So for all of us who work tirelessly day and night, thank you for that. I also want to thank Mr. Washington for his rather comprehensive outlay and outline of the lottery process. Persons like myself were wondering exactly how it would be rolled out and the sum total of it, and his presentation was simply brilliant, and he was able quite comprehensively to let us know exactly how it would roll out. My question is on the change of the coaching structure for the men's senior team. Having gone to Australia and won a test match for the first time in forever, it suggested that Andrew Cody was on an upward trajectory and was doing something really good with the team. We obviously played Bangladesh the other day and came within touching distance of beating them 2-0. We got rolled with a bad hour in the second test in Jamaica. So he could have ended that series 2-0, but he did win the first test in the series drew. I find it quite surprising that he would have been, that this decision would be made. And the suggestion to me, like I speak to the correction, is that it was made prior to the Bangladesh series. What I would like to ask the panel, the head coach, the head coach, congrats to Aaron, and the director of cricket is, will Andre be incorporated in the new structure for the coaching of the senior men's team? Because I've worked with both Andre and Darren before, and there's no more thorough professional in terms of getting a team put together. So I'm curious to find out if this is the end of the road of Andre Cole, or if he could be incorporated in the coaching structure for the men's senior team. Because the work he's been doing in terms of doing the testing,
I'll
not going to make the championship.
ask
So I'm curious if he could be incorporated. Thanks.
DOC, do you want to start there?
Yes, thank you, Philip. And I mentioned that Andrew Coley, he is a competent coach. So this decision is in no way really about his competence necessarily. This is more about the opportunity that we have, given what Darren has been able to do with the white ball teams. It's the same player pool, it's the same staff, and he has basically shown us that he has a process, he is able to implement a process and move us in the direction that we want to go. So it's about really capturing that opportunity and having him do that across all formats. We will continue our discussion.
Move ahead.
Yeah, also this is more for the DOC. We would just like to know, because for planning purposes, some of us will be traveling to various tours and international events. Do you have any update on the girls that are going to Malaysia? The tour schedule for the test matches in Pakistan. We recently saw with Australia the announcement of a third test match for the Frank World Trophy. Do you have any schedules on that you could share with us? And have you confirmed with Pakistan that they'll be coming in the summer? And then finally, the new supportive T20 tournament with the regional sports. What is the structure for that? Do you have a structure? And is it on the
I definitely allow the DOC to answer the questions which you tabled. Certainly want to give you due credit in being able to have your questions answered. DOC?
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks again, Philip. Quite a lot to remember, but what I can definitely say is that we will publish all of these schedules. We are finalizing our home series venue allocations, and we will be definitely announcing formally that Australia home tour next summer. So all of these items will be published with details so that there is no ambiguity.
Thanks so very much, DOC. Thanks very much, Spooner. I'll go now to Anmar Goodridge Boyce. Can you also state your media house when you're going ahead, just as a reminder? I don't believe we have audio there. Go ahead again. Okay, we will have to move ahead now to Terry Finisterre.
Coming out of the Bangladesh series, obviously you would have been coaching against Bill Simmons, your former coach. What kind of conversations did you two have as far as coaching is concerned? He obviously would have coached his 400th international match last week. What kind of conversations did you have as a newish coach and as a very much a veteran coach?
Thank you, Terry. We definitely didn't have conversations on how to win. I could tell you that. But I did sit with Phil and congratulate him on his 400th match as a coach. We talk about the memories and the experiences that we had. I mean, as leaders, we did share a World Cup together. So it was more casual conversation. Obviously, the experience he has as a coach, I'm one who's always looking to learn and improve. But yeah, Phil and I have always had a real cordial relationship, and I love to see my people doing well. And we spoke about if he's going to stay in the job or not and stuff like that. But apart from that, it was just normal, casual chat, and we still have 2 games left to compete against each other, and one that I want to win.
If I could just follow up quickly, quite aside from the conversation, as I say, I mean, and as you allude to, you've had, still as a coach, you've had that kind of relationship. How much does he inspire you, or how much does his journey inspire you to want to, you know, stay in this thing and really develop the passion for it, or to grow the passion for it?
I just, apart from my individual goals, you know, West Indies cricket is something that's very dear to my heart. You know, I'm not the man I am today without West Indies cricket. So I've always been vocal about, you know, the things that we could do, and to find myself in a position where I could lead and help impact change or effect change in the right direction. You know, it's my job to make sure I'm prepared and ready. And yes, it has been more ups than downs, but once I understand the mission, I start putting plans in place to fulfill that mission. And that's what excites me. Me and my team, we're looking forward to taking on this new journey.
Thanks. I'm going to try again. Anmar Goodrich Boyce, are you there?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Goodrich Boyce, the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation in beautiful Bridgetown, Barbados. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. My question is to the head coach, Darren Sammy. First of all, congratulations again. Prime Minister of St. Vincent, Ralph Gonzalez, he put into question the leadership of the president and Dr. Shallow. He even said, if you look at the performances of the teams, they are below par in T20. We invest so much money, it's terrible, and it doesn't matter what gloss you put on it. You have to look at the results. What are your thoughts on, you know, harsh comments like these?
Well, looking at the crowd that came out yesterday in St. Vincent, it tells me a lot about what we've been doing over the last year. What I could say, I know both gentlemen very well, and I would really like to take this time to highlight, you know, in all the 3-4 guys here, except Mr. Washington, I think I'm the oldest one. So I really want to highlight the leadership of Kishore, the leadership of Miles. I mean, I remember probably 18 months ago when I took on this job with the guidance and blessings of President Kishore. You know, his vision has actually guided me and given me the clarity of what this on-field play, what we have to do in order to marry the administration and the cricket. And I think I'm in a very good position to talk about the leadership of Cricket West Indies, having been captain for about 6 years, and the relationship we had with board and players. I could safely say the communication over the last 18 months, both with the president, the players, and now he's not new again, he's seasoned in the job. The direction they've provided has allowed me and my players to actually shift the needle in West Indies cricket in the right direction. I mean, you know, not to go against the Prime Minister of St. Vincent, I need to leave here on Friday. But if you look at the strides we've taken, you know, from 18 months ago, we were number 9 in the world, you know, going to World Cup qualifiers in T20. We were within grasp of being number 2 by the year end. Obviously, England didn't go well, but we've taken strides. And the comfort I have as a coach, watching my ODI batsmen chase down targets, something that we've been wishing for years, you know, gives me comfort that the direction Miles is providing and the leadership Kishore is providing, it allows me and my men to focus on cricket and not other administrative issues that we've had in the past. So that's all I have to say on that, and I would like to tell Mr. Gonzalez it's always good to be in St. Vincent. I will see him later tonight.
Dr. Shallow, do you want to respond to these comments?
Well, what I was saying, I didn't pay Darren Sammy for that, all right? In this cricket, right? And for that simple reason, I am not, at this point or no time in the future, going to mix cricket and politics, all right? And I want that to be extremely clear. If the esteemed Prime Minister wishes to do so, then by all means, he's free to say whatever he likes. And of course, the public will be the judge and determine if it has merit or not. I mean, if I were to be very frank on this matter, I would say that it is unfortunate that I believe it is a miscalculation because you're not only attacking one individual. And from the very inception of my leadership, I've said that this is not about Kishore Shallow. This is about the entire region. I've worked tremendously hard to ensure that all our stakeholders come together, including CARICOM and the Prime Ministerial Subcommittee on Cricket. So any attack, right, it is not on any individual. It is on all the stakeholders, including the hard-working staff, whether it is Darren and Andre, Miles.
Priority questions will go to the room. And we have join us here live in St. Vincent, Mr. Andrew Mason. Andrew.
Yes. Hello? Yes, Andrew.
Good to go? Yeah, hi. Question, first of all, to the Director of Cricket. What's the latest on Raymond Reefer? Because I'm hearing that there's supposed to be a hearing for him. Is that correct? What's the latest on Raymond Reefer? My investigations is telling me that there is supposed to be a hearing very soon. Is that correct?
Good morning to you too, Andrew. So Raymond Reefer has been charged under the Code of Conduct, and a part of that process is that he should respond to the charge whether he accepts or disputes. He has not responded. Had he disputed the charge, it would have gone to the disciplinary committee. And similarly, with no response, then it also has to go to the disciplinary committee. So I think at this point, that disciplinary committee is being convened, and then once they have come together, they will set a date for to listen to that charge.
Is this a level 3 charge?
Yes, it is.
So therefore, the match referee has no jurisdiction. Am I correct?
Jurisdiction in terms of? You said the match referee, the match referee issues the charge.
Right, okay. But he's only responsible for level 1. Is that correct?
As in, he is able to hear the level 1.
Yes. And this is a level 3 charge.
So he can issue the level 3 charge, but then the disciplinary committee will have to hear the charge, which is what I...
Andrew, I don't think your microphone is on. Jerome, can you assist there? All right, we'll take your second question. You had a second.
Yeah, my second question, this is for Dr. Shallow. As you know, Barbados did not attend the meeting of the 76. Now, I have a question for you, Dr. Shallow, because this is a very serious matter, and I note with interest that there was no discussion about it. Did Barbados send a letter to CWI in March 2024 with recommendations and concerns?
Your mic is in mic.
No,
Yeah.
you,
I would want you to ask all your questions and then I'll answer after. I don't want us to be back and forth like if we're having a conversation here and others are waiting. So ask your questions, please.
Okay, fine. Okay, just one question for you. The question I'm asking, there was a letter sent by Barbados, my investigations telling me that, with recommendations and concerns. My question to you, was there a formal response to that letter?
So, Andrew, how it works at Cricket West Indies with our territorial boards is that there are constant communication taking place. Some of it, you have written correspondence, and some of it we communicate verbally. Of course, we have a board of directors that comprises reps from, we have directors from Barbados, we have directors which is from BCA, of course, Barbados Cricket Association, and from Guyana Cricket Board. And we have had several consultations with all our territorial boards. This is not unique to Barbados Cricket Association or the Guyana Cricket Board. All the other members have been involved in those discussions, and we'll continue this. And this is a case of continued efforts, and we are going to continue to sensitize those two members who obviously currently clearly they're not in full alignment with the rest of the board, the rest of their shareholders, and we'll continue to do whatever it takes to onboard them with governance reform.
Yeah. Well, we will move to one last question, and then we move to Dennis Heath because we have a lot of questions.
Because remember, Barbados and Guyana are getting a bad rap. And in fact, some of the directors have also commented publicly on the matter. But what Barbados is saying, and I've done some investigations, was that they sent a letter to Cricket West Indies in March 2024, and there's been no formal response. Now, I would think that that is a concern of the Barbados Cricket Association, and if that is the situation where there was no formal response, then I could understand Barbados' position and Guyana's position on the matter.
What I try to do, Andrew, and I probably advise you to do same, is say Barbados Cricket Association and not Barbados. Because the Honorable Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, has openly and publicly support governance reform. In fact, she has said that we should take the Webby's report wholesale. So it is not a representation of Barbados. It is the Barbados Cricket Association and those individuals. All right? With regards to your question again, which you just repeated, we have different processes. We have a governance committee which is chaired by Arjun Ramlal, who is one of our directors right there. And those recommendations from Barbados, including rotational policy for leadership, right, has gone through the process and has been refused, rejected, right? It came to the board again, it was rejected again. So this does not find favor with in fact, it's just a minority, a significant minority who has been advocating for this, all right? But it has been ventilated at our community governance level and again at the board level.
Thank you so very much, Andrew. It's always good to have you. Dennis Heath, I know that your hand was up for a while. I'm trying to get as many questions in the room. So if you can be as concise with your questioning, I'll truly appreciate that. Dennis, and can you state your media house as well?
Thank you. Good morning. Dennis Heath from Cricket Show USA. Question directed to at least the Cage representative. The contracted partnership is 20 years. Under what condition will this period end before 20 years? Is the 100 million guaranteed for the period of 20 years, or is it a projected amount? And secondly, to Darren Sammy, after the 2020 World Cup, there were recommendations made to involve white ball players in the test match teams. Are you committed to this end? Thank you. Is there a condition where this will end before 20 years?
I'm not a prognosticator. I don't know of any set of circumstances. I would assume that it would last longer than 20 years. Many of the governments that we have these contracts with constantly renew them in advance of the 20-year period, because this is a predictable, sustainable source of recurring revenue that is universal. Most countries around the world do the same thing. We're just sort of a little late in the Caribbean in getting there, but we're there today.
Myself, as the head coach, I don't look at players, I look at roles first. So once I identify the roles needed to help us to be successful, then we find the players to fill in that role. So if that is white ball players, I see cricketers, to be honest, I don't put any player as he's a T20 player or one-day player. I just see West Indian cricketers, and if they could do or fulfill a role for me in any of the teams, then that's what will happen.
Thank you so very much for your questions. And thank you, Darren. I'm going to move the session. I'm going to try to get these last three individuals out, and I'm going to ask the panelists just to bear with us. We just want to ensure that all our media partners have the opportunity to ask their questions. Sachin, I believe it is.
Good morning, all. Yes, Sachin Ramsubag, a freelance writer and a broadcaster. Just two questions directed to the COO. The new T20 competition that's upcoming in April and May, is it going to be strictly televised, all matches, or a combination of televised and live stream? And will this be an under 25, under 23 tournament, or will it be open to all age categories? Thank you.
Is that for the COO or CO? Go right ahead.
It will be televised.
These emerging players will get a taste of what it is like to play top flight T20 cricket. There will be some limitations to ensure that we target the players who we really are trying to develop, which is an emerging group of players. I can tell you that it is not under 25. Simply because of the cycle in terms of having a T20 World Cup every 2 years, you can very well find a player in very short order being able to turn around, as the coach said, and have the skill sets to fill a role that is needed in the team. So it will be more about the experience that the players have, so definitely not more than 10 international T20s. And there will be some limitations around list T20s as well.
Thank you so much. And Darren, you want to make a comment?
I think
Of course, Sammy.
It's also important. Since the Caribbean T20, we found a gap in discovering. It will, because you have only regional players taking part. So that in itself is additional exposure for the regional coaches, for myself, looking at T20 development, especially when you have a World Cup every 2 years.
Okay. Thank you so very much, Sachin. We're going to now move to, I'm believing this is Patrick. Patrick, if you could just unmute and state your media house, full name and media house. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Patrick Green, Carolina National, Weedon, South Florida. I have 3 quick, I don't know if they're bouncers, but they're fast. In the Caribbean, we do have a pipeline to supply male players from the high schools, that will go to represent their countries, and then of course the West Indies cricket. The women, we don't have that kind of structure that exists. And so I'm wondering, what is it that Cricket West Indies is going to put in place to make sure that we can have a good supply of women players? The women have done extremely well with that limitation, so I'm looking forward with the new money that is going to come in over the next 10 years and the plans that you guys have. How will that be addressed? Secondly, there was talk recently about splitting West Indies cricket into territories, right, where each country will represent themselves at the international cricket level. Has the board given any thought to this, and was it something that was just rubbish, or was there any kind of thought? And then lastly, the incident that took place recently that embarrassed West Indies cricket, where there was a player on the field that displayed some amount of anger. The question is, what will be done to avoid that kind of embarrassment again? And then, is there a mental health specialist that has been contracted by Cricket West Indies to deal with issues like these? Thank you.
DOC.
Thank you, Patrick. I'll take the first question on the development pathway for our young girls. Across all territories now, we have started, if you want to call it a seed program for development of a under 16 program. So all territories would have presented proposals for funding to CWI. So over the course of the next week or so, those funds will be distributed, and the intention there is that we start to engage young girls at that under 16 age range a lot earlier and have them exposed to competitive cricket. The intention is that by 2026, we should be able to have a regional under 16 girls tournament. So that is the direction that we are going, and we will continue to try to begin that structured cricket for girls earlier and earlier as the years go by.
And I believe the response to player conduct, you would like to answer that, Coach Sammy?
Yeah, well, I'm very big on discipline and culture, something that we've been able to bring in the white ball setup. We are making strides in how we handle, discipline. We do have our committee responsible for that. However, in any establishment, you will find where people will make mistakes. However, I guess the individual in question it's an ongoing conversation. I have had with the person, and we are taking strides in ensuring that behaviors like that don't really continue or happen again on the cricket field. Or rather, these energies channeled against the opposition. But we are very committed in ensuring that the brand we showcase and the personnel who help us showcase that brand are in line with the visions and the way we're supposed to behave for when we represent the West Indies.
Is there a mental health person on board?
What's that?
Is there a mental health expert on board to help address potential issues that may come up in the future?
We do have professionals, sports psychologists that we engage, and we do offer those opportunities to our players to engage with these professionals. So there is support available. In our female team, we do have a performance coach that travels with that team, and that she has done a very good job there. For our senior men's team, we have a professional available at their request. So support is available for players in that regard.
President Shallow wanted to make a comment. Thank you, Patrick. President Shallow.
Yeah, Patrick, I'm not sure if I would use the harsh word of rubbish in Greg's comment. What I would say is that those sentiments are obviously as an individual and clearly not sentiments of ICC. And listen, there's obviously a lack of appreciation for what cricket has done for our region, for the Caribbean, right? I alluded to this earlier about the unifying force of West Indies cricket. But I suspect that Greg Barkley was speaking in the context of the financial model, right? Which, I'm sure there's a level of ignorance on his part as to our financial model in the region. However, with initiatives like Cage, us onboarding Rupert Hunter, recently a very experienced commercial export, and for other initiatives that are in the pipeline, and plus the onboarding of Christopher Darren sooner than later, I'm very sure that we are going to further strengthen our financial position and continue to unite as a region. Let me say, there's absolutely no intention or discussion at the Cricket West Indies board to separate us as islands.
Thank you very much, President, and thank you so very much, Patrick. Junior, I noted that your hand has been up for quite a while. Can you go ahead and state your full name and then your media house for us, please?
Good afternoon, I am Junior Codlin and I am from the Development Academy Media Arm. To Coach Darren Sammy and to President Dr. Shallow. To Mr. Darren Sammy, congratulations on being appointed West Indies All-Farmer coach. Going forward, as you will start officially April 1st, are you going to, you have taken great pleasure, I know, in appointing aligns with your vision in moving the team forward. Do you think that a mental coach, sports psychologist, if you will play a part in helping our players, especially our test players, to have a clear mindset when they go on the field to execute the roles that you would have identified for them to execute without any external thing coming to impair those. And for President Dr. Shallow, with the recent non-showing of the two members of the Cricket West Indies, the stakeholders, are you prepared at the next board meeting to place those governance on the agenda in March to make sure that this critical governance of West Indies cricket is instituted and is up and can be ventilated properly in by them voting for it or voting against it? Are you prepared for the long haul? Thanks.
Before Coach Sammy responds and President Shallow in their 30-second responses, I'm just going to ask that the last three persons, they have single questions. That's Joel and Mar, followed by Renardo, I believe that is. You have one single question to ask, and we're going to stop at 12 o'clock midday exactly. Very hard stop, and then ask the two respondents now with their 30-second responses. Coach Sammy.
Yeah, thank you, Joel, for your question. I think it was you. We do have, like the director just mentioned, we do have a sports performance coach that is available to our guys. I do believe that the mental side of the game is very important. I think it's actually more important than the actual practical aspect of the game. So we do have that available to our players, and we'll continue to use the services of these professionals. The role, especially in Test cricket, will not be an easy road. But again, like I said at the top of this press conference, is one that I think with proper guidance and the proper processes, following proper processes, we can move forward, and I believe we could do so.
Thank you. President Shallow.
Yeah, thanks, Junior, for the question. Listen, we are relentless when it comes to our efforts and commitment to governance reform, and I'm sure that this position is the one that represents Vice President Azim Bazarat and the majority of the board at Cricket West Indies, and so sooner than later, I'm sure that we are going to effect further governance reform.
Thank you so very much. Joel, go right ahead, Joel Bailey. Full Media House as well. Appreciate it.
Hi, good morning. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are. Go right ahead.
Hi, good morning. I have two questions, but I have to be considered. I mentioned only one. So I'm going in one. If I have to be three in due course, but the main one I want to find is my background. Let's get that update on the vacancy media section. That very nice ago.
Joel, I'm losing your audio. Can you go again?
Okay, no, I'm asking about the situation with the department. After the resignation recently of Mr. Payne, the update as to when that vacancy will be filled.
That question will have to be directed to the COO. So, and can you go right ahead?
Sorry, could you please repeat that question?
He's asking about the vacancy when it will be filled with Miss Nisa Pierre.
Okay, we expect that vacancy will be filled in the first quarter of 2025, calendar year.
And if you have a follow-up question, Joel, feel free to send them to either myself or Jerome, and we'll be more than delighted to answer those. And Margaret Ridgebois, your final question.
Sorry, I'm Morgan voice again from the BBC in Barbados. Yes, I also was querying the departure of Ms. Pierre and the vacancy with the media and communications manager.
Sorry, what is your question exactly? You said you were querying.
Are you there? I think it was the same question then, so we could move on to Renardo Brown. Renardo, are you with us? Well, I think with no other questions, Renardo, just want to confirm, just to be on the safe side.
Morning, you hear me?
Go right ahead. Yes, we're hearing you.
Morning, everyone. Morning to everyone at the head table.
Yes, your single question, please.
I'll stick to one. In terms of the previous quarterly briefing, mention was made about the change to the selection structure for Cricket West Indies. I know the DOC had briefly mentioned it earlier, but where are we with that? It was set to roll out on October 1, or some appointments were set to roll out on October 1. Where are we with that heading into 2025? And I guess then also for the DOC, in announcing the appointment of Darren Sam North with a series to come in Pakistan, does it seem a bit of undermining the current test coach, which is Andre Kohli?
Okay, I'll take the selection question first. So the selection structure is headed by the head coach, who will make the final decisions on selection. He is supported by a senior talent manager. In the case of men's cricket, that person is full-time, and that recruitment, as I mentioned earlier, is rounding up. In the case of the women's selection, that person is a contractor, just based on the size of the women's pool. And then they are supported by territorial talent IDs, and they are the six lead selectors across the 6 territories. And from time to time, we will have some temporary talent ID personnel in locations where territorial talent IDs are not available. And the senior talent manager will collate all the data from these talent ID personnel and present that from which the head coach will make those final selections. So the names of those persons we will publish pretty soon, but as I said, it's no secret. They are the lead selectors for each of the territories. And in terms of the announcement, as I mentioned, the contract of Mr. Sami came to an end, and we had to move forward in terms of giving him some idea of what we had planned for him in the future. And our current head coach, his contract will end just prior to the start of the next World Test Championship cycle. So while it's not ideal, as a number of persons said today that Mr. Kohli is a consummate professional, and he has already begun making preparations for Pakistan, and I know that he will represent as well.
Thank you so very much, DOC. Artie, thank you so very much to the members of... I'm hearing... Zap.
One more question, Anwar.
Very final question, sir.
Yeah, my question was to the CEO. I was asking in terms of the reasons surrounding Ms. Pierre's departure from the position of Manager of Communications Media.
CEO?
Nisa Pierre is no longer in the employ of Cricket West Indies. We have thanked her for her time and her contributions, and we wished her well. We'll continue to do so. That is the extent to what I can say. Going beyond that would be totally and wholly inappropriate. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for that question. We do have a very hard stop. I allow President Shallow to make his final remarks.
Thanks again, Jamal. Let me again express gratitude for everyone who turned out today, both here at Beachcombers Hotel and those online, and of course to the panel. Darren, taking the time out from your busy schedule. Miles, Linford, and of course Bob for joining all the way to St. Vincent and Grenadines. First time in about 15 years, you said. So we're happy to have you in 20 years, right. And to you and your entire team, Todd, Holly, and Noel as well, we fully appreciate you guys coming over and for us being able to execute that project, the CWI Caribbean Cage project. And to thank the Board of Directors as well for your continued support. We have, I would say, had a very, very productive year. And this would not have been possible, obviously, without the hard work of all our staff, our technical staff, meaning our coaches and assistant coaches, the physios, and all of them, everyone in the system who have really contributed. And I think we're ending the year on a great momentum, and certainly 2025 looks very promising. And with that, I'll just wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And of course, I can't leave without inviting every single one of you in this room to attend the matches tomorrow night and Thursday again to witness Darren and his team lift the series trophy. Thanks again, John.
Thank you so very much, President Shallow. For the members of the media who still have questions, please feel free to send us a message. Either Jerome Foster, who is here at St. Vincent, or myself, we'd be more than happy to respond to those questions and provide answers or interactions with any member of the panel. I also want to thank the production team that made this possible, including our colleague who is in Trinidad and Antigua, actually, LaDonna Williams. And thank you so very much to the warm members of the media who are here in the room from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and to you online as well. We home for Christmas. Good day. Yeah, cut the broadcast.